and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today as we get set for some wild news out of Ottawa where they are exploring an Alex DeBrincat trade, according to sources reporting on Sportsnet today. So that, of course, when you got something like that, this is kind of going to be one of those videos, friends. If you remember back to last year, the video that kind of restarted it all for me, the Patrick Kane to the Edmonton Oilers video from last summer. Well, this is another one of those that just kind of jumps off the page at you as to why the Oilers might be involved in such a thing, or as to why I would be talking about such a thing. So buckle up, let's get ready. It's going to be a good little discussion here. I'm going to try and answer your questions live as much as I know about DEBRINCAT and the Ottawa Senators situation and all of that. But before we get there, if you're new to the channel, friends, I want you to make sure you consider hitting that subscribe button. Normally I have a fancy graphic for that, but you see I'm in the car. You literally see I'm at the Ball Diamond. Shout out Crossfield Elks over back there, getting the dugouts nice and shiny for us over the past 2 years, and of course a little bit of fundraising from the league as well. But yeah, so Alex DeBrincat available via trade from the Ottawa Senators. He's an RFA with arbitration rights, made $6.4 million this past year. So that's what you need to know as well. As it's going to be very interesting to see kind of whatever team does acquire him, if any team does acquire him. It's going to be very interesting to see how that all translates out in terms of how the contract works, length of contract, all of that. Obviously still a fairly young guy in his NHL career, a guy who I believe, if the Bakersfield source has the right information, which I think he does, played with Connor McDavid back in the day in Erie. I think that's wasn't it Dylan Strome and Alex DeBrincat and Connor McDavid, Connor Brown, all that? Sounds something familiar. That's a long time ago, friends. We're getting old, okay? If you remember the Erie Otters of Connor McDavid's yesteryear, we're getting old, okay? That's all I can really tell you there. But the reason why this one intrigues me is just more or less in terms of a big name available for trade, right winger, fits the bill of what the Oilers are potentially looking for in the organization if they want to swing big. And you're thinking, okay, how do you make the salary work while you trade Yamamoto? Would CC maybe potentially want to go back to Ottawa, right? You kind of start grinding the gears in your head, and it's like, well, we've also heard from multiple Oilers sources that Ken Holland's looking to do some high impact value to this team this summer into the fall. And I mean, honestly, right, if you're an avid NHL fan, I mean, I didn't really follow the Ottawa Senators this year, but if you watch Hockey Night in Canada, both the early game and the late game, you know that the Ottawa Senators have some up-and-comers, and Alex DeBrincat was definitely part of that. So, you know, when it comes down to it, why wouldn't you want to go out and acquire an RFA guy that fits into your top six potentially a lot better than Kailer Yamamoto did, and make a move that, you know what, says, let's swing for the fences. Obviously, what his deal looks like and how that all translates, that's the kind of hardest part of that. I've already hit home on that. But for the Oilers, right, what do you have to lose, right? We already don't have much for draft picks at the draft, so realistically, if you have to give up a prospect and a Yamamoto and a CC and a draft pick, your second rounder this year potentially, to make a trade for Alex DeBrincat work, I don't know why you wouldn't. And realistically, too, it's one of those things where I'm game for just about anything. I think you and I and everybody in Oilers land are just as disappointed as each other possibly can be that the Oilers aren't still playing hockey against the Florida Panthers right now, and in our place it's those scummy Vegas Golden Knights. I say scummy because I think that's the consensus across Oilers fandom, not necessarily personal opinion. I'm just using consensus, but that is where we're at. Not the Vegas Golden Knights fans are scummy, because hey, I play ball with a couple of them and they're great people, but you get where we're going. Anyway, friends, it's one of those things right now is I'm really intrigued by this, and I will tell you, same kind of thing I told you in that Patrick Kane one way back last summer. It makes a lot of sense. It's something that I think we're going to hear a lot about, and I think it's something now that it's out there in the ether is going to be consistent updates, just as Patrick Kane and Erik Karlsson were all summer long, into the fall, into the winter, into the NHL trade deadline this past season for the Edmonton Oilers. So right now, the biggest thing for me is I'm just excited to have a new name to potentially talk about, a new name to discuss on the board where, you know what, okay, there's something else out there, right? Right now, if the Oilers are to swing for the fences, I think Daniel Nugent-Bowman said, like, you swing for the fences, you sign Jonathan Taves cheap, or you swing for the fences and you go trade for Erik Karlsson, although that appetite doesn't seem as heavy as it once was here in Oilers land. So now to have another name, a big shiny younger name, right? A guy who's not in the late stages of his career, not more than halfway past the post kind of deal. You know, it's kind of one of those things where, hey, get me excited. I like this. I like this idea, and I can work with that. So that's where we're excited to see it. And friends, thank you if I haven't caught you in the chat yet this afternoon. Glad to have you aboard as well, as we're doing this one live, as you can see from the Ball Diamonds if you're just tuning in. So just trying to get something crushed up here for you on a Monday afternoon. Dinner was yogurt, literally shoved back 650 grams of yogurt for dinner, and we're gonna go play ball on a very dairy stomach. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be interesting. But I think too, for the Oilers, is if you're going to get another right winger, right? Obviously, we're moving on from Yamamoto, but if you're going to get, not promote, right? For the Oilers, if you're going to promote a right winger, it's going to be Raphael Lavoie, Xavier Bourgault. Those guys are going to get their chances to be a full-time NHLer for the Oilers. Probably get that top six to look like Holloway did to start the year, and then we'll figure it out later. But if you're going to go out there and be aggressive in free agency and be aggressive in the draft situation, which is probably where Alex DeBrincat's going to be available, right? You're not talking about a guy who's going to be available later in the summer. This is if you're looking to trade that second round pick, you're looking to trade sorry, my engine's about to shut off. You're looking to trade Kailer Yamamoto. You're looking to trade a whole bunch of things and make this team better. Well, Alex DeBrincat's going to make sure we have draft intrigue this month later on towards June 28th, as we get set up for what will be a lackluster draft class for the Oilers, but what could be a very interesting draft now that we know that Alex DeBrincat is available for trade. So here's the thing, Owen, when it comes down to the cap space, it's really not a question of if we do or not, because I think if the Oilers are to swing a deal, the deal will solve the cap space. Think kind of the Matthias Ekholm deal last year in the trade deadline. I think Ken Holland's going to try and masterclass one of those kind of trades if that kind of trade happens for the Oilers. And obviously DeBrincat's one of those shiny objects. Like I said, we're just talking about it because he's a shiny object now available for us to talk about, similar to how Patrick Kane became available in the summertime last year. And really, it was just one of those things for us to chew on all summer long into the winter, and it really didn't end up being anything too substantial, and ended up being one of those things. But Owen, I think when you look at it here again, just to math out if you missed it earlier on, is the Oilers would probably, in this event, if they traded for DeBrincat, trade both Yamamoto and Ceci alongside a prospect and a second round pick to the Ottawa Senators to make it work, right? You're clearing just about $6.5 million of cap space to sign DeBrincat. You're clearing out a second round pick to make some value and a prospect as well, whether it be whoever it might be, but you're doing some things to make it work. And obviously, like I said, that's why it'll be a Ken Holland kind of masterclass thing. And Owen, right there, right? That's your first video watching back in the day. And again, friends, right, that Patrick Kane video from way back when last summer is the start of the whole crazy year we've had, but suddenly it became the thing that it was, and it was just one of those things. Right now, I'm hoping I'm getting out in front of Alex DeBrincat to the Edmonton Oilers, but this one, as with everything, it's going to be complicated. So Jack, question, why is DeBrincat going on his third team in the 5 years? I guess we'll keep this going for the time being. I really don't know what the situation is there, but I think the problem for the Oilers, right, or for the Ottawa Senators right now, is the sale, right? The sale is probably the problem right now for the Ottawa Senators in terms of trading for him. And I'm just missing this last chat here. Glenn Lakehawk's saying you'd absolutely love to have DeBrincat. I would too. And Del Riada, it's speculation at this point, but again, as I said from the Patrick Kane video that Owen referenced in the chat here a moment ago, is I have a good track record of getting out in front of things a little bit. Patrick Kane video in there, as Owen's reminded me, I did kind of mention that this is something we're going to be talking about later. And I feel like Alex DeBrincat at the NHL draft for the Edmonton Oilers, Um, I think that's something we're going to be talking about quite heavily. So, alongside Connor Brown as well, rumors there from 306. So it'll be a very interesting next month. But if I can source anything here for you, don't be surprised when you start seeing people actually reporting the Oilers interested in trading for Alex DeBrincat. There's a lot that makes sense, a lot that has to be done. But hey, we talked about trading for Eric Carlson all summer long, or all winter long. So anything's possible at this point, friends. I'm Tyson. This is Stolen TV. I'm gonna go get changed for ball. We'll talk to you a little later on. I am up on out of here.